Hello and welcome to Warblog. This is a development video for bridge laying. Got the base level of the functionality in place now, so you can build and destroy bridges with engineering units. Further developments will be the ability to destroy bridges with regular units with a lesser degree of probability, as well as destroying bridges with air units, and artillery, etc. But air units, because artillery would be ground units. But at the moment, all you can do with in bridge building is the only way to do it at the moment is with engineering units. So I'm just sort of going to demonstrate that. Possibly before I demonstrate that, I did this video before and got it. There was something wrong, so I had to do it again. But I'll just show you the one that I've been practicing on. No, that's not the one I was practicing on. Delete that one. It's this one I was practicing on. As you can see, I built a lot of bridges, and a lot of bridges ended up nowhere, and bridges, you can see, it's just interesting. As you can see, the further along the river I got, the better I got at actually putting them in. Anyway, so onto this one. So essentially, engineering units can build bridges. So the thing that to bear in mind is that essentially they have to start their move in the hex. So he has actually got one movement point, but to just sort of demonstrate that, I will try and move a little further up the river. So I'm moving there. Now I've moved, so it's still my turn. I've still got one movement point. Not that that's any use to me in this terrain. But if I toggle the toolbar, and then I try to put it into bridge building, nothing happens. That's because I need to start in the hex that I'm going to be doing the building from. So just to put it into perspective, what I wanted to do was put the rules in so that when you built the bridge, it appeared the turn later. But this sort of has the same backward effect, because you've got to commit yourself from the previous turn to actually building the bridge. So anyway, that's an easy way to do it, and it sort of works, and so this is how it is at the moment. So now I've got full movement, plus I'm available. If you look at the last little thing on the mouse over, it's maybe not as clear as it could be, but it says available. And so I can now build a bridge. Once I've built a bridge, I have to wait 6 turns before I can build another one. So that's something to bear in mind. So now I'm ready. I put myself in the position. I know where I want to build the bridge. I toggle the toolbar. I put a little counter into the toolbar. As you can see, all the river hexes appear. This is sort of just for me, just sort of ongoing, a little bit of troubleshooting, etc., etc. But so then we got build. So I'm going to build the bridge. It flips back to the same screen at the moment. You can't. The toggle button's gone, but essentially, I will be sort of getting rid of that at some point, but not that I can't bother at the moment. So back to the game, and then what we'll see, touch wood, magically, there's now a bridge there. Now, of course, the important thing about bridges is that you can cross them, so they work. Just to reiterate, he's now at it doesn't seem to be available. Oh, I see. I think I see. Yeah. I mean, basically, he's used. So you can see it says used 4. That means he's got 4 turns. That's just sort of the computer code for me, really. But he's got 4 turns before he can build another bridge. So if I now try and build another bridge, it won't let me, because basically I've got that used 4 thing there. So I now have to build. I have to wait quite a bit. Now, as we're sort of going through the turns to get me into a position where I can build a bridge again, or destroy a bridge. Essentially, it's the same mechanism that was used on the insurgents, and if you've played the insurgent rules before, when they carry out a car bomb or an ambush or something, they basically have the same rule where they can't do the same thing again for a certain number of turns, but it was flipping through, so every time a turn was done, so essentially 6 turns was actually 3 player turns, because you went through player A, player B, player A, player B, player A, player B, that was 6 turns. But now it's actually, I've changed the rule and it works for both insurgents and engineers, so basically it only decrements, you know, the time pending on your turn, so it'll actually be player A, player A, player A, etc., etc. So basically 12 full turns, 6 turns. So as you can see, I'm down to 2. So if I try and go through that a little quicker, see what I'm on now. So I'm still used 1. So I'm now available. So if I toggle the toolbar, you should see now that I've got 3. If we go back to the game, there are 3 river hexes, and when I go into that hex, I could build a bridge there, or I could destroy this bridge. I want to destroy this bridge. Go back to the game, and as you can see, the bridge is now gone. So it's a bit quick, but the thing is, I think these things are sort of relatively acceptable. The fact that you have to wait, I think, pans out, you know, on a few other things. So sometimes, you know, I think a lot depends on really how wide the river is. I mean, it could be that it only requires 2 pontoons, and you know, it was just otherwise not possible to take tanks across, you know, a relatively deep river. You know, I mean, sometimes these bridges can be crossed with, these rivers can be crossed with just a sort of a single tank bridge, you know, the sort of bridge that they will just elevate from a tank, as opposed to a wider bridge such as across the Surrey. So it's all swings and roundabouts. Some bridges will be, some rivers will be really wider than maybe 1 turn should indicate, but others should be, you know, I'm sure the army can cross a bridge in under 5 minutes, cross a river with a you know, a tank bridge in under 5 minutes, or something like that. You know, so the difference between, say, certain rivers taking maybe 10 minutes and other rivers taking, you know, 2 days, sort of it balances out across the game. Essentially, there's no need for engineers in this game. They're only there because they're on the order of battle for whatever division or unit this is. You know, I don't even know if there were engineers there, and I certainly don't think that there were engineers wandering around in this engagement with bridge laying capability. So, but it was just happened that I put them in there, and it just happened that I was looking for a scenario that had engineers in it. To give an example, let's just maybe just flip through this quickly whilst we're talking. So essentially, that's pretty much all there is to it. What will come in the future is the ability for aircraft to take out bridges, and also for ground units, in particular artillery and other ground units, to actually also destroy bridges. And so that's that. This is what we've got there now. So it's now available. So if we want to build a bridge there across into there, as you can see, we've got 3 options. We're going to build into this one. Commit bridge building activity. Yeah, press the button. This will be maybe slightly different. And as you can see, we've now got that bridge. End turn. And as you can see, he's got 5 more turns before he can build a bridge. But of course, I can move. So that's pretty much that. I did this video before, and I was thinking, I said, oh, I don't really have any scenarios that require bridge building, but there are a couple in there. But in particular, I mean, at this stage, this one here does actually center around building a bridge. I mean, the Iranians were sort of up here, and they wanted to basically build a road. They basically wanted to storm all the way down here through Suzungard, between Avaz down to the other place, Susanagard. That's not Susanagard. Koram Marshar. Oh, I don't know where it is. Anyway, they wanted to go down there. They failed, and it's all muddy, etc., etc. But the thing is, they built a bridge, and at the time, I didn't really know where the bridge is, and I didn't have the bridge building capability, and it wasn't really just because of this that I put it in. I was sort of thinking, well, I want to do something, and that bridge building was a big project because it's quite complicated. Mine building, mine laying, and mine sweeping will be much simpler by comparison, because basically bridge building needs you to actually do maths on multiple hexes. Anyway, so what this game will be, what I'll be doing with this game is adjusting it, maybe taking the footpath up here, so that you've got bridge building capability. You actually got to build your bridge somewhere along this river, because if you look at this river, it's actually incrossable. So I think that will give it up until there. I think this will give it actually an interesting dimension. You know, requiring you to actually lay your own bridge. I mean, on an aside, it's actually quite ironic, because every time I look at this, I just don't know why they just didn't come down this road. You know, they went down here and got stuck in the mud. So there's got to be a reason, and maybe it was just too heavily defended. Maybe they thought that they could just go down this road, and they got caught by Iraqi helicopters that saw them. It was supposed to be a surprise. The element of complete surprise was required, but they got spotted and then basically decimated in a mud bath just in here. So essentially, and as it happens, and we don't have the aircraft facility for destroying bridges at the moment, but the Iraqis actually destroyed this bridge, and so they cut off all the armour in this area, but the Iranians were able to rebuild it. So again, it's fascinating sort of level of not detail, functionality that actually relates to some of these scenarios quite significantly. I mean, it was a significant feature of this operation, that you know, the bridge they built, and I'm really flying off the cuff here at the moment. But I think if you look at Egypt, Operation Gazelle, I'm pretty sure that we had bridge building in here somewhere. Although, to be quite honest, I'm not sure. But I mean, obviously this is the Suez Canal, and obviously there's a lot of bridge building. So if it's not in this scenario, it will be in, you know, it'll be in some other scenarios. And so going forward, I really will be sort of focusing a lot more, not so much on battles with bridge building, but you know, it's now something that can be done, and not something that I have to work around because I can't do it in building a scenario. And so hopefully that should broaden the scope of the game, adding a more degree of not so much realism, but interaction with the actual sequence of historic events. So bridge building was significant, but I think to some extent as well, just added strategy, especially on some of the larger maps, where, you know, deciding where you build a bridge, or having the ability to build a bridge, is actually quite important, and also the ability or the requirement to destroy other people's engineering capabilities. And I'm not sure how significant that was, because you not necessarily always know where it was, but you know, it suddenly turns a river into something that you've possibly got to defend from a possible breach through a bridging point. So hopefully that will give you, as players, you know, a deeper, you know, level of play, and make the whole sort of thing more interesting, etc., etc. So I'll leave it at that. Basically, bridges now. So there you go. I'll speak to you later. Cheers, bye. Just a little aside. After I recorded the video, sort of something else. Essentially, there's still more to do on the whole sort of front of bridge engineering, destruction, building, etc. But what I've been focusing on here is sort of building and destroying, the sort of pontoon bridges. But you can also destroy existing bridges, and one I think a game that gives an example of that is this Operation Modular Cuticanave. There's this bridge up here that the South African forces and whatever they are, I can't remember exactly what goes on here, but basically there's about 3 or 4 different parts of Cuticanave as a sort of an area, campaign, etc. One of which is that basically the Angolans and the Russians, the Cubans and communists, they try to come down here and they get beaten back by the South African Defence Forces that go up there. And the second part is that they try and take out the bridge here at Cuticanave, with some special forces that sort of come up here. They fail, and the whole idea is that they come up here and they take the bridge, with sort of tanks and things. It's all pretty much almost with the same map. So they would be trying to come up here and take this bridge and destroy it. So basically what I'm saying is you can now actually incorporate the bridge destruction into the actual mainline strategic objectives of any given scenario, in that destroying a bridge could be fairly critical, as well as where there are just no there are lots of scenarios where there are bridges, and so you could use them. For example, there's rivers there. I don't know where there are any bridges. Let's have a look at it. For example, there is a bridge across there, and I think it's only across a stream, although it might not be. So let's just go into play mode and have a look at it. It's hard to see, but there is actually a river going across there, so you could actually destroy that bridge. There is a bridge there if you look carefully. It's one of these situations where it's not very clear to see anything, but there is a little bridge. I can just see it beneath this sort of green thing. So basically you could almost say, okay, my target is to actually take this bridge, but there's only one in there, so let's maybe look at some others. Maybe jumping back some randomly. Something that looks like it's got some... Here you go. This is interesting. Interesting point of view. Okay. Well, this is actually Naktong Bulge, which is Korea. It's one of the ones I haven't finished. It's all I'm constantly I'm very aware that I haven't finished this one. I've pretty much done the sort of the American Korean forces. Just the communists I haven't done. But anyway, the thing is, there are bridges here now, and this is actually another example where they do actually build a bridge. They build a ford. They basically put lots of rocks and things just below the waterline, so the water actually still carries on, but they can drive their tanks across it. It's quite an interesting way of building a bridge, because you don't need to have it above the surface of the water, so they have to still go through about 1 foot of water, but they could do that relatively easily, because they just built this sort of bridge under the water. Anyway, so basically you would have an engineering unit here and you'd build a bridge, and that all this thinking just brings up more and more questions, mainly along the lines of things: can you build a bridge if the hex is occupied on the other side? For example, here, could you build a bridge into there? Well, I haven't got an answer to that. To some extent, yeah, because otherwise you'll never be able to build a bridge across this place. So it's just common sense, really. So yeah, you can build a bridge, but you've got a chance of failing because you're under attack. The thing that's when I looked at this originally and said it's interesting, it's because basically there are bridges some places and not in others, because I haven't really gone back and actually edited this map to put the bridges in. And one thing that leads me on to say is that what I was looking at in the original situation was building a bridge, say, across this hex line here where there's no road. The problem I've got at the moment, and I haven't resolved this, and it's because it's all sort of fresh off the press, is that if there was a road already, for example, in this game, the player can go from there to there because there's a road. It's not conditional on there being a bridge. Whereas after I introduced the bridges, basically said, right, okay, if there's a bridge, you can cross it. So basically now the maths sort of works, because if there's a bridge across there, I can go across because there's a bridge. So it's not conditional on there being a road. So if I destroy this bridge, you can still go across it because there's a road. So I'll have to actually change the code so that it has to be a bridge and not just a road. But I'll also have to change the code so that the road connection gets destroyed. So the road will then suddenly stop here and then stop there. But if you then to rebuild the bridge, it wouldn't connect the road. So we've got this sort of a lot of unanswered questions, you know, based on the fact that I've got this far. But basically, I will have to go back, and all of these, I'll basically have to set a rule in so that you can't cross a river that doesn't have a bridge, which will make all these unpassable. So I'll have to go back, find out all the scenarios that have roads over rivers without bridges, and edit them. So there's quite a lot that still needs to be done, but still, I think the whole concept of bridge building and destruction is adding another dimension to the game that, you know, I've been promising it for a long while now. You know, there are all sorts of things that sort of, you know, they're not, you know, massively important in their own right, but they just add a lot more dimension to everything. And you know, like mine laying, and also keep thinking about you know, ship transport. And I don't think I do rail transport, but you know, it's just sort of, I don't know, other things that can be done now with the additional sort of pop-up toolbar, etc., etc. So anyway, so I mean, basically, let's have a look at this one. This looks interesting. You know, I mean, there's no bridges on here, so I need to go back and add all the bridges. But on this one, this is quite a good game actually. You could, you know, there's plenty of things. You know, it brings in a sort of another dimension. Earlier on, I was sort of, I think, targeting, I think one of these places here, so sort of sitting there because it was a bridge hex. But now you can almost go back and sort of say, target it not to defend, but to destroy the bridge. And so, you know, for example, we go into play mode. What you'll see on the map is that there's a river hex missing there. There's there's two bridges, there's 3, 4, but you know, these two are sort of down here. You could actually secure this whole front by destroying that bridge and that bridge. So it could almost become a race to destroying these bridges. Now you might not want to destroy them because they're useful to you. So if you can take this area here, but if you could somehow destroy this bridge, it might change things. So again, it's not just a case of building bridges, it's the ability to actually destroy bridges and change the sort of the geographic strategy. You know, and I think the more I've been thinking about it since I put this rule in, the more I'm sort of aware that, you know, bridges are actually probably quite central to a lot of military strategies. You know, the bridge too far, and you know, Arnhem and the Rhine and all rivers. You know, even the Euphrates going through Iraq and Syria is, you know, ISIS are destroying bridges. So bridges are actually fairly central to things. And now that we've got that functionality in, hopefully we can take things forward and, you know, add new dimension and scope, make things even more interesting. Okay, well, I just wanted to add that on top of, you know, the general basic thing of being able to cross rivers. So as I said, there are lots of things that sort of, you know, open one door, there are 5 more doors to sort of go through. Things to sort of develop down the line, but getting there. Speak later. Bye.